Hello and welcome to English for Everyone, where we practice real-life American English. Today we're going to learn about a phrasal verb, so let's get started. First, let's start with the verb sink. When you see ink, use the long E sound like green beans. See, sink. Sink in the present, sank in the past. When you see ank, make the long A sound like say and day. A, say, sank. That's the past. And the participle is sunk. When you see unk, use the short sound like cup and up. Sunk, sunk. So again, the verb is in the present, sink, in the past, sank, and the participle is sunk. So example, the Titanic sank. That's the past. Sink is the opposite of float. The Titanic floated for a while, but then the Titanic sank. And pronunciation, we say the Titanic, not the Titanic, but the Ti. The Titanic sank. Let's practice. Where did the Titanic sink? That's right, the Titanic sank in the Atlantic Ocean. What about was? Was sunk. Can I say the Titanic was sunk? No, because nobody did it. Okay, a different example. The boat was sunk by a torpedo. That means the torpedo sank the boat. Now I can use was sunk because somebody did it. Again, in active voice, the torpedo sank the boat. In passive voice, the boat was sunk by the torpedo. Let's practice. Did the torpedo sink the boat? That's right, the torpedo sank the boat. And in passive voice, was the boat sunk by the torpedo? That's right, the boat was sunk by a torpedo. What about this word, sunken? This is not a participle. This is an adjective. Example, sunken treasure. Not sank treasure, not sunk treasure, but sunken treasure. This is the adjective. It is not a form of the verb at all. Example, there's sunken treasure at the bottom of the ocean. I think. Let's practice. Is there sunken treasure at the bottom of the ocean? That's right, there's sunken treasure at the bottom of the ocean. Now let's practice with the phrasal verb sink in. In the present, sink in the past, sank in, and the participle is sunk in. And what does it mean? It means when the information finally gets to your brain. Maybe you hear it, maybe you see it, but it doesn't sink in. It doesn't register in your brain so you really know it and understand it. Example, he knows the speed limit, but he still drives fast. He drives fast, he drives over the limit. I can say he speeds. He speeds all the time, and he gets speeding tickets too. When is it going to sink in? When is it going to sink in that if he drives slower, he won't have to pay these tickets? He won't have these problems in his life. It hasn't sunk in yet. But it will. Sooner or later, it will sink in. It will, contraction, it'll. It'll sink in sooner or later, but it hasn't sunk in yet. Again, the information hasn't gone inside his brain so he really understands the problem. It hasn't sunk in yet. Let's practice. Has it sunk in yet? That's right, it hasn't sunk in yet. Will it sink in sooner or later? That's right, sooner or later it'll sink in. Eventually it'll sink in. Let's hear some examples.
Then, as the sheer genius of the plot began to sink in, they all started grinning.
For a while, just to kind of let it really sink in that she wished I hadn't come.
Well, for the younger ones, I think it hasn't really sunk in yet.
We walked around today, it finally sank in how important this parade is to the town.
I'm sure it hasn't sunk in yet.
Has the gravity of this not sunk in for you?
This happened to me. I used to drive fast and I got speeding tickets all the time. I knew it wasn't good, but it never sank in. And then one day, it did. It finally sank in when I was in my 40s. I realized I need to drive slower because it's safer and I won't have to pay tickets. It finally sank in. Let's practice. Did it finally sink in? That's right, it finally sank in. I finally understood it completely. So remember the verb sink. In the past, sank, the participle is sunk. And we have the phrasal verb sink in, sank in, and sunk in. They're different. Thank you for watching and keep watching for more. Today we're going to learn the difference between two very important phrasal verbs. So let's get started. The two phrasal verbs are these: come up to and come up with. They look similar, but they mean very different things. Let's take a closer look. First, let's talk about come up to. Come up to means to approach somebody. It's more common than approach. In normal conversational English, we don't use the word approach very much. We use come up to. It's like when you get near somebody or you get near something. You come up to. You come up to somebody. You get near them. And remember the verb. Come in the present, came in the past, and come is the participle. Use these forms for this phrasal verb. Let's hear some examples.
Many people come up to me and say that had they been there, they surely would have died.
I like it when people come up to me the next day or a week later and they say, I saw your play.
The way you write in your books, people come up to me and think I make love to some wildcat Henry Miller type. Ha!
I knew who you were when you came up to me.
Many of you have come up to me and thanked me.
You know, ever since this happened, I've had people come up to me and say, how can you be with someone like that?
She just, came up to me and started talking to me about crack.
The counselor came up to me after the seminar and sat down next to me.
And I was there, and this lady came up to me and she starts pointing at shoes, and in Italian, I think asking about the shoes, but pointing.
Example. A homeless person came up to him and asked him for money. If you use approach, it sounds too formal. A homeless person approached him? We don't say that. It's too formal. In conversational English. Let's practice. Did a homeless person come up to him and ask him for money? That's right. A homeless person came up to him and asked him for money. Example. When a homeless person comes up to me and asks me for money, I usually say, I don't have any cash on me. That's what I say. I don't have any cash on me. On me? Yeah, it means I don't have any cash in my pockets with me. We say on me. So when a homeless person comes up to me and asks me for money, I say, sorry, I don't have any cash on me. Let's practice. What do you say when a homeless person comes up to you and asks you for money? Very good. Now let's talk about the phrasal verb come up with. This is completely different. This is about ideas, words, things like that. It means to think of an idea, to create, to produce an idea or a word. We say come up with. People come up with ideas. They create ideas. You can come up with names. You create names. Use the phrasal verb. You come up with names. Example, celebrities like to come up with strange names for their children. Not normal names. They come up with all kinds of different names. They create them. They produce them. They come up with them. Let's hear some examples.
I'm trying to come up with a plan.
She wants us to look at parts of our life that need improvement and use statistics to come up with a plan.
And my intention in sending Pete over to you was so that you could come up with this plan.
We want you to come up with a plan.
I can do that.
She asked us to come up with a title. Something to call ourselves.
We can come up with something that's very current.
What? I come up with cute nicknames, unlike some people who just call me babe.
I mean, here I am staying up all night killing myself trying to come up with activities for our 4th of July camping trip, but you won't let me think!
I came up with the idea for a game, and I sold it.
Tim was really helpful when we came up with the idea for the lamps.
And we came up with the speedy system, not you.
I came up with the concept of winning.
Well, some years later, I found out that man did come up with an idea for a t-shirt.
That's a term you came up with, apparently. That's what she says.
I'd come up with a plan to invest in a casino with stakeholders in Sarasota at the new Ritz development site.
Zeke Daniels and Jim Langford came up with the idea for home and hearth gifts right in that booth.
Yo, you gonna put this on TV?
But how did you come up with an idea like that?
I guess it's time to come up with a plan B.
Now, as I was saying, I think I've come up with a plan to make sure that Coop never wins that Denslow Cup.
And I still haven't come up with an idea for the window that's gonna dazzle.
A friend of yours explained the whole situation to me. I think we've come up with a plan to get out of this mess.
Example, he doesn't have any money. He needs to pay the rent. So what is he going to do? He needs to make some money, but he doesn't have any ideas. So he needs to come up with some ideas, or he needs to come up with one idea. He needs to come up with an idea to make money because he needs to pay the rent and he doesn't have any money. Let's practice. Does he need to come up with an idea to make money? That's right. He needs to come up with an idea to make money. He needs to think of an idea. He needs to come up with an idea. So remember the two phrasal verbs, come up to and come up with. They're very different, but they look similar. Thank you for watching. And if you like this video, subscribe to our channel. And if you want to become a member, click the join button. And we'll see you next time.